G'day folks, Glenn Twiddle here. I'm here at a little fireside chat that it feels like with Michael Spillane. I tell you, I can't believe the lights are on. We've had power blackouts since we've been here. We've had it all, Michael. Michael had his car set up out the front, ready to shine his headlights in here to light us.
It's amazing. The power was fine. Glenn turns up and the power goes
Yeah,
off.
that's right.
Fancy that.
So we're going to pick the great man's brain here today. So, Michael, tell me, mate, you've just got back from the States. You've got a slew of awards that they very nicely put at reception here. I mean, but in all seriousness, mate, your career didn't start yesterday, but it's culminated in Remax's highest awards internationally. Mate, just tell us a little bit about how that feels, because I know your history. You know, we've been there. How are you feeling right now coming back from the States with a slew of the best awards in the planet, from the biggest company in the planet?
Yeah. Oh, look, to be honest, it's happened pretty quickly. And as you know, you remember back in the day, we probably did a lot of things right. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasn't an agent that got entrenched in an area and just stayed there for a long period of time, and that cost me plenty. And it also, in hindsight, probably made me plenty, because I got to work with a lot of really good agents. You know, some of the best going around in the country. So I suppose as I went, and I was out of sales for 6 years, pretty much. So I'd always put things in the memory bank. I'd always see an agent do something and I'd go, okay, that's something that I'd like to implement, or that's an idea that I'd like to take further. So I guess in 2008, which is effectively when I started selling, I think it was September 2008, where I said, you know what, I really want to get the boots back on and get out there. I had a lot of ideas about what I wanted to do then. I felt like my tank was full of ideas, but I just hadn't implemented them at all. And
there's the key, isn't it? It's always implementation. So many people, it's like there's no shortage of what to do in real estate. Everyone will tell you how to do it.
Yeah, it is. And you know, it's interesting because post the US, Remax had a high achievers retreat in Queenstown, New Zealand, and Remax has got a lot of really good high achievers. I'm not trying to pump that brand, you know, more than the others, but there's a lot of agents that do a really good job, and it's a great way agents come together and share what they do. And it just occurred to me that probably the biggest thing I got out of that is how different the top performers are, how differently they run their business.
Absolutely.
Vastly different. So, you know, again, that gave me some new ideas for how, you know, I can take my business to the next level and move on. And yeah, that was really powerful. So there's never, you know, the more you talk to people in the game, the more you see how differently things are done. And you're right, you know, I've got a project list. It's funny, in 2008, I sat down and I wrote a 25-point plan of things I wanted to implement, which is now I think at 40. I think out of that 25 points, I think we've now done 8.
Right.
Out of 25, and I've added another 15. So we're not even close to you know, and I'm a believer that I'm not the greatest implementer in the world, I've got to say, but I like to get something done fairly well before I kind of try to do too much.
And that's one of the things. I mean, we've got probably a 20-year history on. You know, in various
tell stories, many stories.
Ixnay. But so you would have seen my style, where I'll get something in the marketplace earlier than you would as far as perfection is concerned. But I certainly learned from you, and probably somewhere in between us, that's one of the things I was talking to John McGrath about. He is closer to you. He waits until it's right, or closer to right, before implementation. And he even said it's a flaw that he probably should come a little bit further to action first. But what I love about you is when we see something in the Michael Spillane team, like the stuff that you've shared with us at conferences before, it's done, it's proven, it's in, and it's working.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you know, I'm a work in progress. You know, I still feel like I haven't been doing it for a long time. That sounds funny. But despite, I think this is my 14th year technically in the industry, I still feel like it's early days for me. So, yeah, I guess you know, we make mistakes, although what I've learnt in the last few years particularly is to trust my gut, to trust what I think will work. I seem to, whether it's the fact that I made a lot of mistakes early on, but now if I get a really good gut feeling about something, I run with it. I pretty much trust my gut over anything else, sometimes over logic, and it hasn't really, you know, bitten me on the backside in the last few years. It's held me in good stead. So yeah, but look, there's plenty to learn, plenty to do. Yeah.
So what do you think that we've learned? Because, the folks that know that Michael and I were business partners, worked together back in the day, and Michael's the reason that I got into the industry, so we blame him for all this. But, we got a bunch of things wrong. But do you think a lot of the things that we got wrong back in the day helped you develop that gut? Do you think some of those mistakes of what not to do?
Not really. I just think, it's funny how you're known for your marketing and I'm known for my marketing, and when we were together we did no marketing.
We didn't know anything. And yet we still pitched to the public that we were marketers and negotiators.
Yeah.
And frankly, you're a pretty good negotiator. I suppose I was a nice guy, but that was my degree of negotiation, was being nice. Yeah. But we pitched ourselves as marketers and negotiators, whereas really what we were good at setting an appointment.
Yep.
And we're pretty good at listing presentation. That's about it, isn't it?
I think the industry's changed a lot too. What worked back then doesn't work now.
Yeah.
And what works now wouldn't have worked back then. So you've got to roll with the punches. And, I'm a big believer in that the industry's always changing. It's always moving and always evolving. And I'm conscious, in fact, my team and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. I'm conscious of the fact that we've been sort of doing the same thing now for a little while.
Yeah.
And it's still working, which is great, but I'm also conscious that, hang on, I'm still doing the same thing I was doing a couple of years ago now. Yeah. So if I'm not continually moving, then I'm a static target.
Yep.
If you know what I mean. There's always someone who's coming along who's bigger and better and got new ideas. I still feel I'm too young to be the agent that is the has-been, if you know what I mean. So look, we've got some really exciting things coming up. And I suppose I'm looking back, and thank you for inviting me to talk in. I'm humbled about that. But I guess what I've looked at and tried to analyse is, okay, you hear it all the time in books, and I used to read it in that, I forget who it was, but someone said, look, success. You've got your success overnight. Someone went up to a famous person and said, you've got success overnight. And he said something about, 25 years of overnight success. And that's sort of how I felt. And I'm trying to even go back now and piece together the last few years and figure out, okay, how did our volume, pretty much sort of triple in, a very quick period of time? And what did we do right and what did we do wrong? And it's, it's never, it's always an infinite curve, if you know what I mean. It's never linear.
Yeah, that's right.
It's never linear at all.
No, that's right.
A lot of agents, I think, who carry 3 listings, figure, well, how do you carry 15 listings?
Yeah.
And you don't. It
doesn't
go
5 times the hours.
Yeah.
And it's not 5 times the
hours. You don't go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You seem to go from 3 to 8 to 25.
Yeah.
That seems to be the progression of how it just transforms. So I'm trying to retrace, mentally, if you like, and look at, okay, well, what did we do? Because it all happened fairly quickly. And I suppose any good agent probably does the same. They think, okay, well, that happened fairly quickly. How did we do that? So there's some things I guess that I've worked out that I looked at what the top agents had in common. That was the first thing I did in 2008. I went, right, what do they all do, or what do the majority of them do? And try to implement a lot of those sort of things. So I guess we did that. So yeah, I'll talk about that.
You mentioned marketing. Tell us about how you've got, there's one of these awards up here somewhere is Marketer of the Year, 3 years running. No one's ever done it in the brand. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I think so.
No one's ever done it. So you've become known, certainly in my eyes, as one of the best property marketers in the country. Tell us about maybe some of the keys that give you that edge. Because I can go to the internet and I can spot Michael Spillane's properties.
Yep.
What are some of those things that, I could go through it, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth. What are those things that you think I identify and go, that's Michael, that may have a Remax balloon on it, but that ain't Michael?
Probably, to set you back a step, back in the previous group I was with, I'm good mates with Anthony Davis, and there's a lot I attribute to him. Anthony's a very humble guy, and he's more a lifestyle agent now. I'd call it a lifestyle agent. The phones are just resetting here with the power. Don't worry about that. But a lot. I remember we each had a listing in the same area. It was only a street or two away from each other. They're very similar properties, and they were the same price. And I sort of thought my property was a bit better than his. I thought it had a bit to offer, and. He sold his home in a heartbeat, and I was still really struggling with mine. And I remember thinking, gee whiz, mine's a better home. Why isn't it selling? And I remember I sat down and I said, gee, how many people are you getting through your opens? And, you know, what's the story? How'd you sell it so quick? And he just said, oh, well, I did this and I did that. And I went, oh, okay. And I couldn't figure it out. I was sort of thinking, I just don't understand why buyers would gravitate towards that property over gravitating towards mine. It made no sense. And everything else was on an even playing field, same brand, same listing online, same, I think we were doing newspapers.
Oh, so you guys both were with the last group?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. And then I just sat there and I just read his ad and looked at his ad and then I read mine. And I went, oh my God.
That's it. So in that case it was the copywriting.
Yeah, well, that was part of it, but there was more than that to it. I looked at the way he did his video, and I was doing videos back then.
Okay, yeah.
I looked at a number of things that he did with that property that I didn't do. So it wasn't just the copywriting, but it looked, felt and sounded like it was a better home. And it got the result. And at that point I went, wow. I sort of the penny dropped for me at that point and went, and I think the busier you get as an agent, sometimes you shortcut the little things. I
agree.
And marketing's one of them.
Ditto. On my events, I've noticed that the busier I get, the more I shortcut what brought me to the dance in the first place.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah, and I think that's a trap for anyone, in anything. So that's, from that point, I just rewrote everything and changed all my marketing overnight. And I said, right, I want to be known as the best property marketer around. And that was prior to any of these awards.
Yep.
And even now, sometimes we'll list a home we just listed one that's not particularly a desirable property, to be completely honest. I mean, I'm not paying disrespect to that. The owner and I discuss it in detail. And he wanted his relative to do the photos, and and it was a home at a very sort of low price point, even for the area. And we argued. We argued
polishing, let's just say,
big time. We argued and tossed it around, and I said, look, I don't want to. If I compromise what I'm going to do for the property, we're compromising the result. And even though it was a price point that was low, he still wanted a good figure for it. And it would have been easy to probably go, oh, look, whatever, and we argued that point. And the result is it's not unconditional yet, but we've got it under contract for a really good figure. So
he ended up succumbing to what your recommendations were.
He did, yeah, he did. By and large. So that's been a key point that we haven't negotiated on. We've kept a really strong stance on that, and people say it all the time. They say, look, we look at the way you market homes, and we don't even look at the logo or who's listed. We know that it's yours. And it does come back in the price. And I've spoken about this, I think it was last year, and I was going to say I won't talk about it this year, it'll probably come up, but the prices you get for properties these days make all the difference.
Well, you wear them like these trophies. Your prices are a badge of honour, as much or more than these trophies.
Yeah, probably more so, because we've just sold a property now in an estate. It's the second highest price this estate's ever achieved, and we'll probably go to town on that. And it's It's even a long way above the third highest price. So, given that the highest price was in the boom, and there hasn't been anything sell even within 100,000 of this price for a long, long time. So, yeah, we do. To be honest, we wear it like a badge of honour because I know it just gets out there.
And you tell sellers, you've told me about some of these case studies where you've said, I'm not letting you take that, not because yes, because it's best for the seller, but it's so your price reputation doesn't get affected.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. We I've had a few arguments with sellers who've wanted to take a lower amount. Yeah, not an argument about dropping the price. An argument where you say, no, I will get you more, and you're going to happily take it, sir. It's funny, like the average seller, don't lose the buyer. But I think it's pretty hard to lose a buyer when you're negotiating, as long as you're negotiating quickly. I think it's hard to lose. I think you can always backtrack. You're doing probably something wrong if you can't. But yeah, we do that a lot, and then that's what I think sellers remember. They remember that extra 5, 10, 15, 20 grand in the price they get, and based on that, they're happy to refer us on. It's funny because we chart where our referrals come from. We get a lot of referrals now, and by and large, the most referrals are from the sellers who were prepared to take a price. And I don't. There are agents out there, as you and I both know, who will, they'll tell them that the offer's here when it's really here, and they'll make themselves out to be a hero, and it's not that. It's actually saying, I've got a gut feeling there's a bit more in them. Let me push them, let me give it a good shot, and let's shake them out, see what we can come back with. So that's been a big thing for us too. Is that,
agent-seller relationship you've got? Because again, I remember a couple of case studies of yours where they almost mirrored each other, but one particularly stands out, where you were saying to them, hey, something like, there's 10 things that you could possibly make a mistake on selling a property or whatever. And you know what, in my dozen years or so in this industry, I've never seen anyone make all of them until you. So fix them or I'm gone. Now, you weren't that rude, but...
Yeah, it was that was, I know the one you were talking about, that was listed with another agent. And I just said he couldn't understand why it hadn't sold. And I said, look, there's probably 10 things here that affect the price of the property you get, and 10 mistakes you can make. You made all 10. And I wasn't being disrespectful, they had made it. You know, everything from the, you know, where it was positioned online to how it was presented to just everything. You know?
And so the relationship that allows you to make the hardest of hard calls like that one, is that a transferable skill, or is that a combination of everything that you've learned, like your confidence in negotiation, your ability in marketing, the results and the track record? Does all of that allow that, and it's inherent to Michael Spillane, or is that a transferable skill that can be passed on?
Of course it is, you know, and I think part of it is you've got to be honest. And sometimes if I'm going to say a few things that I think might run a bit close to home, might offend, I say to them, look, with all due respect, is it okay if I talk to you about how to get the highest price for your home with the risk of offending you? And 100% of the time they'll say, yeah, that's fine. They never say no. I won't say that they always not get offended. But, you know, and I say, look, I'm only giving you the advice, what I believe is going to help you get the best price. You know, if you take that on board, that's great. But if you don't take that on board, that's your choice. So, look, I think you've got to come in, there's a way to come in and deliver that. And I don't think with a seller that's being like a bulldozer. I think you've got to come in, you know, at a certain angle of respect. You know, it's interesting that the one common aspect of, you know, if I look at Remax and I look at all the top agents in Remax and have talked to them, the one thing they've all got in common is they're all actually very genuine people who are themselves. And I think I might have mentioned that before.
Definitely. I would extend that to every top agent that I've performed.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty right. So if you're coming in, that doesn't mean you don't, you know, take the bull by the horns at times. But I think there's a way to come in with a little bit of humility rather than just coming in.
Yeah. Do you think the days of the hard-nosed closing salesperson are either going or gone?
Oh, Australians do not like to be sold. They like to buy. They don't like to be sold. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that. There are some who will have a different opinion to that, and I respect that. You know, if I have to try to close for a listing, I'm doing something wrong, you know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Normally, we have a chat and they end up saying, what do we do next? And I say, great, I got the paperwork, are you happy to fill it out now? And they go, yeah, let's go. Nice. That's my close, really, to be honest. You know,
so like I say, and like Tom Panos says, like nearly everyone says, certainly you'd agree, that 80, 90, 100% of the listing decision is made before you got there, and you're there to answer any questions, tidy it up and pick up some paperwork.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Especially with that pre-listing system that you've got.
Yeah, I haven't really thought a lot about that. You know, I quite often will go back and do 2 appointments. Again, a lot of people do 1 appointment. I prefer to do 2. The reason I do 2 is, for me, pricing a property is important.
Well, that's that research you do. You spend hours on each one, don't you?
Yeah, we do. And I think if you do that right, you save yourself a lot of time. You know, I have a lot of agents, good agents, come to me and they say, you know what, I couldn't do 2 appointments. I'm just too busy. Now, my average days on market are not anything out of this world, to be honest. My days on market are probably average compared to the industry, but the prices we get are well above average. No question about that. So,
and the results you end up getting, you know, these awards aren't average. Let me just say, that Diamond Award there, guys. No, Michael's all humble. He don't like to talk about it. But that Diamond Award, $1 million in a year. You know what I mean? They don't hand them out to everyone, do they? That's not a participation award. You know?
No, it's not a participation award. But,
you don't get that for 4 years of service, let's just say.
I think the main thing, the difference for us is when I go around and talk to a lot of agents, is that we don't do any prospecting. We do no cold calls. We don't do, by and large, we don't. I do a letterbox drop sort of once a year. I've got a system where I do it for 4 months. We're sort of in the middle of that right now.
Right.
We don't do just listers and just sales, by and large. Again, these are all things we're incorporating, and as my team's growing, we're bringing more of these things on board. But we actually pretty much just process what comes our way. You know, the phone rings, we answer it, and we process it. and we have systems around that. That's pretty much all we do. And I get a lot of people say, "Oh, when do you find time to prospect?" Well, we don't. Yeah. To be honest, we don't do a lot of that at all. There's a lot we can do better. We don't have all the answers. I recognise that, but that's exciting too. You know, I can see how we can take our business and really take it to another level. So, still figuring it out, but have a good time.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So, what can the folks who haven't, say someone's watching and it's the first time they've heard of Michael Spillane? If they've been hanging around me, it's probably not, but that being said, what can they expect from you out of a coaching session with Michael out of an event like Be Phenomenal?
Oh, look, I mean, going back to the days when you and I were together, we, we had a large sales team very quickly, and by and large, a very inexperienced sales team. So I think we were pretty good at helping someone move to the next level, and you're extremely good at that. I know that for a fact. Hence, you've gone into what you're doing now. You and I were similar, I guess, in that vein, in that we could see a deficiency in a salesperson or where they're going and implement ideas and get them moving fairly quickly. So, look, I think every salesperson's unique. Every area is a bit different. I don't think there's It's not a cookie cutter. Every area is sort of different. It's a different demographic. It's different ways around it. I'd like to think that because of the amount of different areas we've used. G'day, guys. How you going? Feel free to pull up a seat there. I'll be with you in just a sec. That we could help someone move from sort of A to B, irrespective of where they're at and what the conditions are.
Cool. All right. Well, last question, because Michael's buyers to sign up have just arrived. Michael, is the stuff you've learned completely transferable, replicatable? Can you show us some of those marketing chops at Be Phenomenal, and someone can, what sort of take home will they get leaving after your session that they can leave and take and put into their business? Yeah.
Oh, look, I hope plenty. My take on training's always been, if you take one idea and you can take one idea and really work with that, then that could add who knows how much to your bottom line and your profitability. So we've got some ideas that I know I've shared with other agents, and they've come back to me and said that it's worked very well for them, and it's helped them. So I'd like to think we've got some things there. I mean, you've got a fantastic array of speakers. So
what are your thoughts on some of your co-trainers there?
I'm humbled to be amongst it, to be honest. So it's going to be it's going to be a big event. You've got some big hitters there, and for the price of a ticket, if you're not there, then you're doing something wrong. Right? So,
Excellent, folks. I'm going to let Michael Spillane go and do his business. His people have just arrived. So, Michael, thanks a million, mate. Much appreciated.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Until next time. Signing off, guys. Bye for now.
All right.
What's up, Australia? Absolutely brilliant. World-class lineup as far as speakers are concerned.
It doesn't matter where you're at right now.
When they think of real estate, you're going to be the first person of choice.
If you don't want to make more money, then I'm wasting your time.
I promise you, you will double your income.
The only thing between where you are and what you want is you.
Now I know what it's truly like to want to be successful. You've got to be successful. You have to be committed.
My guy, this guy knows what he's doing.